What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Sergeant Moose here, of course, with my good friend and co-host, the Echo Thief. And guys, we're back with episode 2 of Moose and Echo's Cosmic Gaming Experience. We have an awesome show for you guys lined up today, including a few stories that Echo and myself have picked out for Game News of the Week, as well as we're going to hop over to LV426 and talk a little bit about Alien Day. So, it should be a pretty spicy episode, but first and foremost, guys, I just wanted to mention we appreciate each and every one of you for coming out in last week's video, our very first debut video, showing your support. It was an awesome experience, and we're going to keep the ball rolling and get this thing going for the future. So, with that said, we're going to have a few stories. Echo picked one. I picked one as well. He's going to talk a little bit about Ubisoft and some things they're going through right now, as well as I'm going to talk about Sony and Bungie. So, I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball over to Echo, and he can go ahead and get started. So go for it, dude.
All right. Thanks, Moose. I appreciate that. Echo here. Glad to be back. Glad to be doing this again. Last Sunday, we had a blast doing it. We have full intention to keep this going full steam ahead. And just as Moose was saying, we really appreciate your support. But with that, we're going to go ahead and move into our first story. And as Moose was just talking about, we kind of picked stories that we found interesting to us. And this first one here, I was just kind of browsing the internet one morning and looking at stories of gaming and film and stuff like that, as I do. And I came across this one. This comes from TheVerge.com. And the headline reads, Ubisoft axes online support for 91 games. Yeah.
I just can't. Every time I hear that.
Yeah, it doesn't ring well, yeah. It says some titles reach all the way back to the PS2. And I'll read a little bit further here. It says, in the past year, Ubisoft has seized online support for a list of games that has grown to 91 titles. This means that any multiplayer components associated with these games will no longer be accessible, along with any achievements or unlockables attached to the online aspect of the game. It's worth mentioning, however, that the support for these games wasn't cut off all at once and doesn't necessarily impact all platforms. Now, I'll just kind of read off a few of these titles here. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but we have some standouts include Tom Clancy's End War, Splinter Cell, World in Conflict, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2, Hawks 2, that was the aerial dogfighting game, and Beyond Good and Evil. Now, you can see the list. We'll post the link in the video here in the podcast, but it's a huge list, and there's probably some favorites of yours out there, guys, that you're probably like, oh man, that really stinks. Maybe you don't have plans of going back to it right now because it's an old game, but it's still like, I understand why they're doing it, and I'll let Moose kind of jump in here too and give his opinion. But I have mixed feelings on it because I'm sure there are people that have it upgraded to new consoles and that do still play on these servers and do play these games. And so, I understand you kind of have to move with technology, you kind of have to future-proof yourself, but mixed feelings. What do you think, Moose?
Yeah, dude. So here's the thing with me. Okay, so I grew up playing Ubisoft games, and now I know lately they're more known for Assassin's Creed and the Far Cry stuff and different things like that. And I know they're kind of pushing more toward live service now with Assassin's Creed instead of kind of the yearly basis thing. So I think Ubisoft's shaking things up a lot right now. However, Splinter Cell, with the one you just mentioned, just blew my mind because that was one of my all-time favorites, dude. And honestly, it was kind of one of those pioneers of the shooting genre as well. And I know it's gonna affect a lot of past players, and things that they've liked, from past games from Ubisoft, but I think maybe they're just setting themselves up going forward, and it also has me wondering, I'm not sure of Ubisoft's market value right now. I'm sure it's pretty high, but I've been hearing talk, and don't quote me on this because I don't have any sites for it, but I've heard talk that they're up in the air for being acquired as well, but that's beside the point right now. But as far as the old stuff goes, that it kind of hits me, man, a little bit different because that was kind of the stuff I grew up on there.
Yeah, sure. But I'm looking at the list here, and it's like some of these games, I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, I don't think anybody's itching. I don't think anybody's itching to play Call of Juarez 2 Bound in Blood online right now. Or
it's like, damn, man, who's gonna play that tonight?
But then I see other titles in here. I'm trying to see let's see, like some of the Assassin's Creed titles, even Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Recollection, Revelations. Those are the Mac and iOS games. Let's see here. Assassin's Creed 2, even though Assassin's Creed 2, Let's see what else is here. Far Cry 2, Far Cry Blood Dragon. A lot of those games don't have, multiplayer components necessarily, but they have online compatibility stuff, and that's going away. So,
Right, right.
yeah, I like Moose was kind of just saying too. Like, there's a reason that Ubisoft is doing this. There's, like we talked about in the last episode, companies are companies. They have to do things. They have to move forward with their products and their
They're
future and their
evolving, yep.
plans, and they have to evolve. And so I get it. Maybe there's a better way to go about doing this and just saying, hey, here's the date, here's the cutoff date, and after that it's over. you
Yeah.
know. But ultimately, I think I'm kind of behind them in terms of, like, I get it, and if you really want to play these games, you can still play them in their original form. It just means that you can't play them online anymore. And of course, if there are some games that you really love that you want to play online still, there's the mod community out there.
Yeah.
Invest in a PC, and I know it's a lot of money and stuff, but those games are still available in certain forms via emulation and things, and so and different online communities that have certain servers pulled up, and so it's not all lost. It's not all lost.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it's not. I honestly don't think it just comes down to only Ubisoft in this decision as well, is because the old platforms and consoles and things like that, they're also shutting down.
Right.
So it's going to make it harder for online game. And another one you mentioned too is Assassin's Creed 2. That's a big one because that's arguably the best Assassin's Creed. I mean, everybody has their favorite. It's not my favorite, but it's arguably
the quintessential.
Yeah. So, but
For
again, it rings out to you. But Assassin's Creed isn't very extremely multiplayer focused,
Right.
So,
Right.
But yeah,
There's
it's a big
leaderboards
story,
and
man.
stuff.
Yeah, the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right.
It is a big story. It is a big story. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Moose, did you want to talk about your story a little bit and bring that to the front here?
Yeah, so my main topic I wanted to talk about this week was Sony's acquisition of Bungie. Now, this kind of breaks down into a few subtopics because ultimately I want to get to the point of where is Sony going, where are they headed? Is this going to be, negatively impactful, or not impactful? But I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk a little bit about the PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now merger that's coming. There's a few new plans being introduced with Sony, and the acquisition of Bungie, and also what Microsoft may have to do with this as well. But that's kind of like a little bit out there, but we'll talk about that a little bit too. But
Sure.
to start things off with Bungie, so Sony announces that they've created a partnership with Bungie for $3.6 billion.
$3.6 billion. Yeah, I'm reading that. Yep.
Yeah, so most of my citation comes here from protocol.com. I really like their articles. They're fast, but they get right to the point, man. They're short and sweet.
Perfect.
But yeah, so they've acquired Bungie. Now, for those of you that may not know, I know most people do know, Bungie, of course, is the pioneer of Halo. That's what they're, well, back in the day.
Claim
that's
to
what they were.
fame.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they're currently in development with Destiny, which, hands down, is probably the most popular looter shooter in the genre of looter shooters right now. It's kind of like the Dead by Daylight of asymmetrical games. It's it's on top. And I have massive respect for Bungie. I always have. I've always been a big
Sure.
Destiny fan. Even though I don't play as much now, I'm not the biggest fan of Destiny 2, but Destiny 1, of course, loved it. But I also hear they're working on new projects now as well, aside from Destiny, because it is coming near the end of its lifespan. It's about 8 years old now, and they had a 10-year plan for it, so we'll see how it goes. But
God, that's so old. It's so crazy thinking it's that old.
2014, man. Yeah, it's insanity. And honestly, I never thought they would keep up with that 10-year plan, but here we are, man.
Yeah, I know. I remember, yeah, it's so true. I remember reading about that and being like, there's no way they're going to keep with this for 10 years. I remember laughing at that. Like,
yeah.
really?
Well, you hear live service, you hear microtransactions. You're like, "No, people's going to dump this game," but it's just it's gotten increasingly more popular. And Bungie is doing things very well, and I feel like they're getting better and better with time. So
they are, and also the live service kind of the live service genre has mutated and evolved, and because it's like we had Borderlands as like a looter shooter back then, but like really we didn't have a real confident live service experience. We just had. I mean, like I just said, we had Borderlands as like kind of a looter shooter and some other things that were probably indie titles and stuff like that. But like, we didn't really know what a live service title was going to be.
Exactly.
And so when it blossomed into this thing that it really could be kept up with every day, logging in, new things happening all the time, then people like us were like, wow, this thing actually has some mileage on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, this thing, it touches back to last week about live service titles we were talking about. This is why live service is one of my favorite types of genres, because you always have something to look forward to. There's always a new event going on, or there's always something to grind for. They can just keep implementing new things into the game whenever they want. But,
Right.
of course, it requires money, too, so, with microtransactions. But, so Sony is also on this live service model. They want to push more in the live service direction. And who else better than the live service kings themselves, which is Bungie. So personally, I think it was a really good acquisition. I know a lot of people have their thoughts about it, especially with Xbox previously acquiring Activision for, I don't know, upwards of $70 billion or something like that.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
But a lot of people think it was Sony's kind of counter move to that acquisition, but I don't think it had anything to do with that at all. I think Sony is just preparing themselves for the future, partnering with Bungie, because if you've read how the whole transaction went down, Bungie still has all of the creative freedom that they want. Sony's not going to intervene at all. They're just going to help them out, So,
right.
But apart from that story aside, I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit because it kind of got swept under the rug a little bit with the Activision acquisition and stuff like that. But I feel like it's a big move. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit also, and also get your thoughts, Echo, on, because I know you're a Sony guy too. I want to get your thoughts on the PlayStation Plus thing here with PlayStation Now and their kind of merger. So, what I see here right now, as we're looking at it, if we have PlayStation Plus, we pay around $9.99 US every month, or roughly $60 a year. If you want PlayStation Now, you're also paying that same amount. So roughly, if you have the two of them, you're paying $20 a month, $120 a year. So Sony announced that they're going to do kind of a merger with PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now in 3 separate tiers. Now, if we were to stick with what we have right now, or at least what I have right now, I just have PlayStation Plus. If I were to stick with that would be the PlayStation Plus Essential Package, which is the basic package. Nothing would change. We wouldn't pay any more or any less. Same price. We also get our 2, monthly games, things like that, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you don't want to go back to the old stuff, there's no problem. Now, there is a PlayStation Plus Extra Pack. Now, that is a $15 a month subscription or $100 a year.
Or now, I think there's also a $40 for 3 months, I think, if you want to do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Too, but...
Yep, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, too. You can pay quarterly as well. I'm not too used to doing that, so I always forget about that.
I'm not either. It's just an option. I thought, that's kind of a nice option, I guess. I mean, of course, it's set up that way, but yeah. But not bad. But
listen to this, okay? $15 a month. This is the one that caught my eye the most. Now, it doesn't include PlayStation Now at all, but it does offer you 400 PS4 and PS5 games right in your library, right in your arsenal to be able to download and play at any time. 400 games for an extra $5 a month. And I don't want to crunch numbers too much here, but just for the last package, which is the premium. Now that's going to be $17.99 a month. That's going to give you everything in the previous packages. That's going to also give you PlayStation Now, which gives you access to PS3 games and a ton of PS2, I believe PS1 games, but I know for a fact PS2 games. Now some of them are only going to be available to stream and not download, but some are also going to be able to be downloaded. Now, that deal is $17.99 per month, $49.99 quarterly, and $119 yearly. Now, the interesting thing about that is that shaves $2 off of what you would typically pay per month if you had both subscriptions, and it also offers a little bit more. So, in a nutshell, my whole thing with this subscription is, again, a lot of people think that this is Sony's answer to Game Pass, and unfortunately, I hate to say, this is nothing like Game Pass.
No.
And I'm not saying that that's worse or better. I'm just saying
Right.
it's completely different. And this is not in
Hmm.
any way, in my opinion, a competition to Game Pass.
Not at all. And it's like I've been thinking, a lot of us been thinking for a long time, like, okay, what is Sony's answer going to be
Hmm.
to Xbox Game Pass? Because I'm not a Microsoft adopter. I don't have an Xbox. I haven't had any Xboxes for a long time, probably
Hmm.
since my 360, which was a long time ago.
Saying that was my
Um,
last one too.
yeah, yeah, and of course I miss certain titles, and I miss Halo, and I miss certain things like that. But man, I gotta say, the biggest draw for me of ever, and I won't ever probably abandon Sony, but I mean, the biggest draw right now is Xbox Games Pass because of how successful that model has been, and how appealing that model is. It's a
Yeah,
great model, and they have so many great games, so many day one exclusives that are coming out, and it's just a
absolutely.
great model. Now this is it's fine. Okay, the only issue I have with it is really that the PlayStation Plus Essential puts everyone kind of at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I don't like about it, because it's like, okay, there's the new stuff, and you're right here at the bottom right now in the
Yep.
crappy bronze package, and
Yep.
if you want to be up here, you got to pay more, and it's kind of like I'm sure myself and others feel the same way. I feel like I'm already paying a lot for a service already.
Yeah, and it's like, okay,
Um,
so you're telling me if I just want PlayStation Plus, I just coast into this. I don't get anything, any perks. I don't get anything extra. I just get what I've already had,
mhm.
and that kind
Yep.
of thing. So yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like okay, if you're gonna launch this thing, let's give some incentive for the people that are paying what they're paying now, and they're gonna keep paying what they're paying now, but there's nothing there.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, okay, do we know any like notable titles that are coming with the PlayStation Plus extra package?
Yeah, so I didn't see any. They didn't. I don't think they named any just yet. But there are going
Okay,
to be exclusive and third-party titles, which kind of really caught my attention there. But again,
sure.
what kind of titles are they going to be? But there are 400 to 500 titles, so there has to be some
Yeah,
good things mixed in there. In my opinion, I would think anyway.
I think time will tell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, exactly. I think this is um, kind of like a prototype right now. They're kind of just going to test it out, test the water, see how it works. But yeah,
sure.
in my opinion, I don't. With the whole console war thing and this and that, Sony and Microsoft are going in complete different directions. I think Microsoft wants they're focused on their subscription service right now. They want every game at players' fingertips for the least amount of money that they have to pay.
Sure.
And Sony, they're all about exclusive titles. They want everybody to own a PlayStation. They want everybody to play PlayStation.
Hmm.
That's what they are. And I mean, it works too because Sony does have some of the best exclusive titles ever made. So,
Now, where does PlayStation Now come into play with this?
so that would be the third package. That would be the most expensive package.
So
Um,
my only question with now, I've used PlayStation Now, but it's been a long time.
mhm.
It's been, I would say, probably 3 years since I've actually gave it a shot, because I used one of the trials they had, and I played around with it for a while. But my biggest problem was the input lag, and the
Yeah.
fact that because you're streaming this game and you're not playing it direct,
Hmm.
it's not downloaded, you're gonna have a lot of input lag issues, and I did. So like fighting games, shooters, those things are out because you're not going to have a great experience. Now, if it's improved, and they've improved, I mean, I don't know exactly how they do that necessarily with everyone having differing internet, but
Right.
if they found a way to improve that, I'm actually very, very curious, and they could totally sell me on that final package
Well,
if,
here's
if
the
they fixed it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's the thing. You said it's been a few years since you've played. They've implemented ways that you can now download games from
I've
PlayStation
seen that.
now.
Okay, yeah. But
Um,
now,
Not
I know
every
there was
game,
there were select yeah there were select titles, but
right?
yeah,
And I think, unfortunately, there still will be select titles that you're not going to be able to download.
sure, sure.
But much like yourself, not everybody has the best internet for streaming games, especially fast-paced games and things like that. So
Exactly.
I think the more freedom they offer with allowing us to download more of the PlayStation Now games will make it even better as opposed to having to stream them. Um, Especially if you're a content creator or a streamer and you're streaming at the same time that you're also uploading a game to your console constantly.
Right.
That makes it really rough too. So yeah, I think there's some tweaks that need to be worked out, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm willing to give this thing, a chance to impress us and do some things. I'm not gonna just say this is awful. No, I don't think it's going. It's, I don't think
Yeah,
it's ever going to be as cool or as gracious to the player as Xbox Game Pass is.
yeah,
But I
not a
do think
chance.
that has potential to be something that I don't feel cheated or anything for spending money on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if you remember when PlayStation Now first came out, it was $20 a month just
Yeah.
for PlayStation Now, and I'm like, no
Yeah, they were
way.
robbed. Robbed us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
so Um, but as for me, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to touch on their acquisition of Bungie. Kind of wanted to touch on the new subscription services coming with PlayStation now, because I know a lot of people were kind of up in the air with it, and I am
mhm.
too. So only time will tell there. But yeah, so we'll see how things go with Sony and their future for gamers. But I'm still optimistic. I'm a Sony fan. I'm going to remain
Same,
optimistic.
same. I'm very biased and very aware that I'm biased for Sony.
Yeah, for
But I
sure.
love Sony and they've made a lot of great titles and made me happy for a lot of my life. So what can you say?
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. All right.
But we'll jump into this next story here. Now this is a story that I picked. Now this is in reference to Alien Day. Now those of you who don't know, Alien Day was what day was that? Let me take a look. That was a couple days ago, like
April
3 or 4 days
26th.
ago. April 26th is Alien Day.
Hmm.
Now this is something that I've kind of have seen happening annually, of course, and I've sometimes participated, sometimes I've just forgotten that it's happened. As I get older, I lose track of things that are happening all the time. And so I was on Twitter and I noticed that it was Alien Day and people were hashtagging it and posting their favorite, films in the franchise and the Alien franchise and posting their favorite games in the franchise and all these great things. And I was like, wow, that's great. So I made a
Hmm.
little post about Aliens Colonial Marines because that was a game that, if anybody remembers, it came out and it was met with a lot of criticism and a lot of warranted criticism.
Yeah, yeah, for
A
sure.
lot of it was, that game had a lot of problems. Gearbox, the rumor was always the fact that the money they got for that game from Sega went right into making Borderlands, and they didn't
Hmm.
really spend as much money or attention on Aliens Colonial Marines. Um, but if I'm being honest, and I was honest in this post, if I'm being completely honest, and this is having played, of course, Alien Isolation, and every other Aliens games, Aliens Colonial Marines is probably my favorite Aliens game
Absolutely.
because I have a great nostalgic appreciation for that game and that experience that I had. I met a friend that I'm really good friends with now through an AVP Aliens vs Predator fan site, and we struck up a friendship and started playing that game when it came out together in the co-op, and we had such a blast with it. We played the hell out of it, played it all the difficulties, all the way up to Ultimate Badass, and got all the trophies. And technically, I haven't got 100% because there's some online trophies that are kind of hard to get, but I've got most of them.
Hmm.
But we just had a blast playing it, and I make no apologies. We were aware of the issues at the time of how problematic the game was, and certain issues and things the game had, but ultimately, we just had a blast playing it, and so and to add another note there, Gearbox really kind of got the soul and the feel of Aliens and what that movie was and how that movie felt, and they really got the weaponry right and the sound effects right and the atmosphere correct, and
They
you
did.
know they did,
Yes.
yeah, they
Oh
did. Like
yeah.
there was problems, but they nailed that aspect of it. It felt like an
Hmm.
Aliens property.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was Aliens Day's fun. I had fun with that post and gained a little bit of traction. And then as did Moose. Moose posted something pretty cool too. And I'll
Hmm.
kind of pass the ball over to him, and he can kind of talk about maybe what his favorite Alien game in the entire franchise is, what his favorite is. So I'll
Yeah,
go ahead and pass it over to you.
for sure. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on Colonial Marines a little bit myself too.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention when Sega picked up the Aliens franchise, Sega was failing hard. They were falling hard before they got that Aliens name.
Yeah, they
And
were.
and obviously, like you mentioned with Borderlands, Gearbox was heads down with Borderlands, man.
Yeah.
And that was a questionable developer there for to go ahead with Colonial Marines. But again, like you mentioned, if you have a good time with it, you have a good time with it. I mean, critics can be warranted, but at the same
Sure.
time,
Sure.
if you're personally enjoying the game, that's what matters most. And yes, I agree with you. I think it was a decent game. Like, do I think it was amazing? No, but there's a lot of games I don't think are amazing. But
Right.
I don't think the kind of criticism that it received was warranted as, as far as people have gone with it. But
No.
at the same time, it's a piece of history now, and same with you. I'll look back at it too and be like, man, that was an enjoyable game.
Yeah. I look back at it fondly, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But kind of okay. So what I wanted to talk about, something a little more modern. I was going to get into isolation
Yeah,
a little
go for
bit, but I wanted to talk about Aliens Fireteam Elite, and
Yes.
it also has its own, ups and downs with some folks. But this is a game that Echo, you've played quite a good bit of.
I have. I own it. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I played it. I would say I probably sunk about 15 hours or so into it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So yeah, and the thing is, it's a shorter game too. So, but one thing I really like about Aliens Fireteam Elite, now it has 12 campaign missions in the game total.
Yep. Yep.
3 for each chapter. But one thing I like that it covers from the very beginning of Alien all the way up to the engineers. And it's everything in between. And that's what I really like about that game. Now, it is a horde shooter game, kind of like you think of Back for Blood
Right.
or
It's
Left 4
definitely a
Dead.
co-op based. You know, you gotta have some friends with you to make it the real experience. You know, the real deal.
Exactly. So, and also with that comes not a whole ton of content. Now, they're doing, I know, seasonal content. There's actually a season that was just introduced recently, including the Lancer class.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I haven't seen that yet. Okay, cool.
yeah, and there's 2 more seasons coming out for it as well. But I just wanted to quickly touch on that and say that I've thoroughly enjoyed the game, and I still play it from time to time. There's a few modes that have come out for it as well. A different type
I
of kind of capture the point, capture the zone mode.
Yeah, there was an update that I missed that came out a couple probably more like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I just haven't gone back to it. But just to briefly touch on it myself, you know, I really enjoyed my time with it. Now I didn't have a dedicated squad to play with,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So most of the time I was going through with the just the AI bots, you know, and of course, oh crap, what are they called? They're
Alpha and
the white
beta,
the alpha and beta,
the
right? And I love
synthetics.
how
Yeah.
alpha. If anyone's on Twitter out there, Alpha and Beta have their own Twitter account,
Yeah,
which
dude,
is
I
pretty
love their
great.
posts. They
Which is
post
pretty
all
awesome.
they are dedicated to. They post
They are.
multiple times a day, dude. I
It's
love
kind
it.
of like the Grabbit King from Anthem when they were doing that. That was a
Yes.
lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah,
If any Anthem lovers out there remember that.
for sure. Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed my time with it, and I thought that you know, although I didn't get the full meat of the experience, the full real rich kind of cooperative experience of it, I really enjoyed the hangar bay that is your hub, because in
Yes.
the hangar bay you walk around this hangar bay, you get to see the big drop ships, you get to walk around, look at all the weapons. And there's a lot of lore in these areas because you can go up to these NPCs that are in the area, and you can ask them questions, and they'll fill you in on things that have happened prior in the Alien franchise and things, and
Yep.
and the timeline. And it's, you know, I got a kick out of that. I mean, as a lore nut, as a person that, you know, likes to read wikis and nerdy stuff like that, like I got a kick out of it for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention there's also a loader in there that I hope eventually we'll be able to
Yes.
use at some point. But no, the thing is, yes, the game is short and sweet. It's a very short
Hmm.
game, but it is jam packed with everything from everything that you kind of know from the Aliens franchise, which I
Right.
think is really cool. And much like you said about Colonial Marines, it captures a lot of the sound effects. It captures the environment. It's just for me, I thought it was for a smaller, low budget game, a smaller studio. I thought it was they hit it out of the park, man.
Yeah, I do too, and it kind of capitalized on a niche player base in the sense that, you know, I think it's probably why it did pretty well is
Yeah,
because it wasn't trying to be you know, an Aliens Colonial Marines, you know, revival or remake or anything like that. That was
right.
its own thing, and that's a different kind of campaign based experience, and this is a more you know, cooperative based experience. But it was so, you know, and that does mean that some of the levels and some of the maps are a little bit barren, not as
Yeah.
populated as say maybe a strong campaign might be. But for replayability, those maps are fantastic, and
Hmm.
being able to go through those time and time again with your friends is it's pretty neat. So yeah,
Totally
yeah,
agree.
just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, so I mean, for those of you out there that are Alien fans, man, we're a little bit late on it, but happy Alien Day. I know many people
Yeah.
take that very personally, and I do myself, and I know Echo
Same.
does too.
Yes.
Going, so
Yeah.
I just kind of I really wanted to kind of put Fireteam Elite into the limelight this week because
Yeah. Yeah.
I because it's relatively newer and it still has
Sure.
content coming, so. But
Yeah. Right
yeah,
on.
for sure. Maybe on a future episode, we'll definitely touch on that a little bit more as
Yeah,
well.
we'll definitely wrap back around to aliens at some point, no
Hmm.
doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
um, Well, guys, that is about it for the show. We certainly hope that you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the stories that we picked this week. Now, every show is going to be a little bit different. We'll kind of show you guys a roadmap via Twitter and all the socials later of how the weekly segments are going to go,
That's a good idea.
and kind of keep you up to date on what we're doing in the future. But be sure, guys, if you guys have any questions that you guys want to answer on the show, send those in. We would love to read what you guys have to say and recite that on the show and answer your questions. You
Absolutely.
can definitely get a hold of us at mooseandechopod@gmail.com, and that will of course be down in the description, easily accessible for you there. Also, Moose and I are very big on Twitter. We're probably too addicted to Twitter at this point. We're
Yeah.
on it quite a bit, and but no, that's a really great area for us to talk about our gaming stuff, and so we're on there all the time. So definitely check us out. I am at umbrella_ops. That's my Twitter handle. I'm going to pass it right over to Moose, and he can kind of tell you his stuff. And
Yep,
yeah.
and I just wanted to say that's a good way to get more of an instant interaction with us too. Also, is on
Hmm.
Twitter, and my
Absolutely.
handle is sgt_moose.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you so much. We love doing this. We can't wait for the third episode. This has been so much fun for us. We hope it's fun for you. And we're going to keep this thing growing and keep it going. And as Moose would say, we're going to keep things spicy. Is that correct, Moose?
Absolutely.
All right. All right. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week.
All right, take care, guys. Take it easy.